Just 2 hours ago, Allied air forces began an attack on military targets in Iraq and Kuwait. These attacks continue as I speak. Ground forces are not engaged. This conflict started August 2nd when the dictator of Iraq invaded a small and helpless neighbor. Kuwait, a member of the Arab League and a member of the United Nations, was crushed. Its people brutalized.
I remember the night really well. It was one of those things in your life that you kind of look back on, although it was, a long time ago, and felt like it was yesterday. We just got done playing a basketball game. I played basketball at Muskingum University, and we got done with the game at Heidelberg. And typical after the game, it's one of our longest road trips, about 3.5 hours. And I knew through the day they talked about possibly invading, and we heard right after the game that we did invade. And I remember after the game we showered, loaded up our team vans to head back, and we always got like a box of lunch. And I remember just kind of after a win, usually the van ride backs were fun and kind of loud, and this was very somber. It was very quiet just because nobody really knew what was going on. We knew with them invading we were going to war, but nobody really knew what was going to come from it. I remember we tried to find all the news on the radio, but not knowing all the local stations. It was just a constant turning of the dial to find a clear radio station to go from Heidelberg University back to Muskingum and New Concord. So in the night from probably 10 to 1 o'clock when we were driving, we were just trying to find different radio stations to get the news and kind of find out what was going on. So just remember it being kind of somber, quiet. Everybody was a little, I don't want to say nervous, but it was just a feeling none of us had before, because I'm 22 and I was a senior on the team that day, so as a leader, but you had freshmen just coming in and not sure what was going on, if there's going to be retaliation against our country, what the next step was going to be, how's it going to impact tomorrow. We really didn't know because we hadn't been through that before. So it was just a somber, weird night that again kind of stood out, and I remember very vividly. I remember kind of vividly the all the information we had was trying to get it off the radio. And if you remember back like 1991, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have the internet, we did not have X or Facebook, or couldn't even call your parents to find out what was going on. The only information you get would be what you could hear off the radio. And again, the communication back then was a lot slower. There wasn't a lot known. It was just known that we were invaded on the ground and we were at war. So that at that time, because we didn't have any details, made it a much bigger scenario than it probably really was, but it made it kind of impactful because you had no idea what was going on. The impact that night had on me was almost like you could feel it happening in real time. It was, I think for everybody that was on that van, we kind of went through that experience together. But again, it was the fear of the unknown, and I think it was a maturing moment that you had no idea what was happening. Here we are, young, where you think you're kind of indefensible, but here we are having a situation that we weren't sure what the outcome was going to be. So you matured real quick. You didn't have your direct family support around you, so we had to kind of support each other and leaned on the people close to us for information. But having my dad, who was in the Vietnam War, and my grandfather, who was in the Navy, and talking about those situations, they weren't directly there to talk to, so you had to kind of feel out your own emotions, and you felt yourself kind of maturing in the moment right there, as we went through it. And again, not until we got back to school and really the next day did you get more information, and you think things were kind of settled down. But things were going through your mind, obviously. They talked about drafting, and I was at an age where I was 22, my final year of college, getting out, not even sure what my next step was going to be career-wise, but thinking that maybe you had to go to war and get drafted, which wasn't in my plans at all. So there was a lot of emotions and thoughts going through your mind. And again, that day and age is just totally different than the amount of feedback and information we can process and get so quickly today with social media, our phones, and everything that we get bombarded, the sensory bombardment we get from from information. So it definitely made an impact on me back then. It's something I vividly remember. I remember, and I think playing 4 years of college athletics really kind of mentally matures you into the person that you are today. I can vividly remember the way our college program was, and we were very successful, but it was all based around being mentally tough. And I look at moments back to that night that kind of sharpened you without you thinking about it. And then you look through on my 31st year of owning my own business and being married 28 years and 3 great kids, you look at all the different things that you come across that are really those moments where you don't know them at the time prepare you for dealing with real life lessons of today. I vividly remember 9/11, being in the store. My wife called me and we talked, told me something was going on. We turned the TV on and we saw the second plane hit the building. And I can remember the panic and the fear, and a lot of everybody at the store, we didn't know what was happening. And they talked about potentially the country being under attack with the other planes going down. But I vividly remember flashing back to that night in the van and listening to the radio, had a little bit of a peace just to let it play out and see what happened. So I think those experiences as you get older kind of play within each other and give you a perspective on it. So, radio's been impacted us that night, listening to it, and obviously streaming things today. Radio's improved, but I use it in my business with doing our radio spots, and it's just it's an impact that people always listen to. If it's a football game, a baseball game, or current news, weather, people are going to turn on the radio and listen to it. So, I kind of remember that night and how it impacted me, and how radio was an important part of that.